Welcome back, everybody, as we continue our series of prediction videos, this time taking a look at that Premier League. Before we start anything, make sure you support us by hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss out on further prediction videos and more football content throughout the season, and slap that like button to give your club all the luck you need next season. Also, don't forget, get involved. Comment down below who you think we've got some teams totally wrong, who you think will be that champion of England, who you think is going to get a Champions League place, and also which three of those sides are going to fall through the trapdoor back into the Championship. Let us know in the comments down below. But let's get straight to it and find out who we think, prediction-wise, will be bottom of the Premier League next season. That first team we've gone for is West Bromwich Albion. Slaven Bilic's men stumbled over the line at the end of last season. Nearly blew it, didn't they? But Brentford couldn't capitalise towards the end of the season. And I think West Brom at the moment are one of the weakest sides for this league. Pereira coming in on a permanent deal is massive news for West Brom. And that's a fantastic bit of business. They could get him back. Kravinovic also looks like he could be returning for a loan from Benfica. And possibly Gallagher coming in from Chelsea would be a very good sign. He looked very good in the Championship last year. A very good potential from him. I look around though. Where's the goals coming from? How are they going to cope with that? And I just feel West Brom at the moment are one of the weaker teams. While they have got some quality in midfield, I think West Brom for the drop for me. Last year we predicted all three promoted teams to stay up. Well, the first two teams we've gone for this year are two of the promoted sides. Fulham next in 19th place, and Scott Parker will be all too familiar how they fared last time they were in the Premier League. They came up, spent a hell of a lot of money, didn't they? Really did spend that budget. Ended up with 26 points. No doubt they'll probably do a little bit better than that this season. They've kept their core of Kearney and Mitrovic have another go. Mitrovic will always provide a few goals. Onama's got that quality in midfield. Then they've made Knockhart's loan move permanent, as well as Harrison Reed. And Harrison Reed's an interesting one. I'm quite surprised Southampton let him go on a permanent deal. He looked a very bright player in the midfield for Fulham last year, made them tick. And what a player like that is always, there's potential of being the dark horse to keep a club like that up in the Premier League, linking up with Mitrovic up top. Lamina comes in as well, someone who flatters to deceive quite a lot for Southampton. In the last couple of years, comes in on loan, huge potential, doesn't really show it enough. The inconsistencies there. But I'm sure they'll make a fight of it, and Scott Parker will not want to, be a side that goes down softly. But for me at the moment, I'd say Fulham are down. The next side to go down, Aston Villa in 18th place. I think they'll have another fight of it, don't get me wrong. And Villa done fantastic towards the end of last season, staying up, getting 8 points from the last 12 available. Jack Grealish really was the linchpin for them to get those points, and he really did step up to the mark at the end of the season. Finished as top goal scorer at Villa Park with 8. Not much close to him either, so you do worry where goals will come from Villa. Possibly Wesley would have got a few more. He did end up with 5 before his big injury, but they've got no ins so far in the first team, which is, quite understandable, because they'll probably look around and make sure they get the right player in. And with the transfer window going into October, there is still time. But as their squad looks at the moment, like a few clubs in my predictions so far, the way they are right now, I think Villa are going to be in for another struggling season. And I can't see them staying up with the squad they've got currently. So there's the three that are down. Who else are going to struggle? Well, in 17th, I've got West Ham United. And again, this is like Aston Villa, where at the moment their squad does read struggling at the moment. Let's take a positive first. Soucek in for £15 million. What a steal that is. He looks a very good player in the middle for West Ham next season, and he will be a bright player for them on top of people like Rice and Diop in their squad, who are quite strong. You look at the depth in squad, if they've got it, I'm not too sure. I don't know whether the owners are looking for these big players to move out, your Lanzinis and etc., who have really flattered to deceive, and West Ham fans are kind of fed up with the big names coming in and not delivering. Is Haller going to be more settled this year? Well, he's linked with a move away, so the potential of him going is still there. But will he actually stay? He has looked quite dangerous when I've seen him play, but you don't know. And you look at the teams they've been using for pre-season, a lot of youngsters in there at the moment. Ben Johnson's been used, a lot of high praise for him so far. Dean Garner comes back, and you'd probably fancy him to be part of the first team squad. The youngster that has been Baptiste, Coventry, Silver, etc., all playing pre-season matches. And at the moment, the depth of West Ham's squad, the players that seem to get a look in, Moyes doesn't fancy a few of them. I think West Ham are going to have a year of struggling to find their feet next season in the Premier League. A great job last season from Steve Bruce. I think this year will be not as strong for the Geordies. Newcastle United, as I said, a great year last year, 13th in the Premier League. Bruce has brought in one player so far in Jeff Hendrick from Burnley to strengthen their midfield. But like Villa, you struggle to see where the goals are going to come from. They did need a little bit of luck along the way last season. And, who doesn't need a little bit of luck to stay in the Premier League? I think like Newcastle, though, not sure whether they're going to get that high up the table next year. Shelvey was top goal scorer with 6. Joe Linton has struggled to adapt to the Premier League so far. Works hard, works his socks off, and did look quite strong when he came back into the squad in the turn of the year, getting a goal, but only 2 for him. He possibly could have settled a bit more, and you might get a little bit more from him next year. St. Maximum is a strong player for Newcastle, one of their stars. You'd expect a little bit more goal return out of him maybe next year. That's what they kind of need to look at. So I think Newcastle are going to be fighting a relegation battle, as I'm sure a lot of people will probably predict. But I think that they've probably just got enough to stay in the division. Next up, into 15th place, we've got Crystal Palace. Now, Crystal Palace started their holidays in March, I think. It definitely looked like that when they got back from the COVID break. Lost 7 of their last 8 matches. Was really disappointing end to the season for Crystal Palace, but they did finish 14th. You could have felt they probably were, destined to finish that kind of position last year anyway. Gone for 1 place lower this year. Ferguson's coming from West Brom, and that man pictured. Eze comes in from QPR, £20 million. He's got the potential to be a real big star for Palace. RU top scorer last year with 9, just under him. You'll find Wilfred Zaha on 4. Bit of a disappointing return from Zaha, really, for the ability that he's got. So goals again for Palace. It seems to be a big thing for a lot of these teams. They do grind out the 1 and 2 goal differences in their wins. So they will hope for a few more goals. And, who knows who Palace will bring in the next couple of weeks. I think Palace will definitely stay up next season, but I think they could have a little flutter and a struggle with relegation along the way. So swapping places with the team in 14th last year was the team in 15th. Brighton move up 1. And I'm a big fan of how Potter plays his game sometimes with Brighton. I think he's starting to really mould the kind of players and the way they play and get the right way for his team thinking. And I'm a big fan of how they've gone about themselves in the transfer market. They've brought in the experience of Adam Lallana, who personally for him will want a hope for a non-injury season. Not more than 15 appearances for Adam Lallana since 16-17 season, which is a massive amount of missed games for a player of the ability of himself. So if he can rejuvenate himself back at Brighton, be the player he was when he was back right on his peak, Brighton have got a real good find and a great free transfer there. Veltman comes in from Ajax to shore up that defence as well. There's a lot of good players there. Morpay knows where the goal is. Connolly's another year older. They're starting to go down that kind of route of blooding these players through. Alzate and obviously Lamptey at the back as well. They've got a good young squad, Brighton. Plenty of danger in attack. I'm a big fan of Trossard. So I think Brighton could surprise a few next year. And we've got them in 14th. Staying along the south coast brings us to Southampton in 13th place. 11th finish last season, and Hasenhüttl really did, really end the season phenomenally. 7 games unbeaten in the Premier League at the moment. That 9-0 defeat at home to Leicester at the start of the season kind of made their season. They really did go from strength to strength after that, and after the COVID break, they looked a pretty formidable side. Walker Peters has made his loan move permanent. And Salisu is the other signing coming in from Valladolid in Spain, another defender. They have lost their key anchor man, Højbjerg, in the middle. So, they'll need to kind of replace him. Maybe some of the players, coming through, or your Ward-Prowsers, and that can kind of fill that void of him. Che Adams at the end of the season was getting into his stride, and you can't not mention this side and Danny Ings. Will he have another season of the goals that he got last year? Surprised he's not been snapped up so far by another side. I'm sure a few clubs have been sniffing, but so far they've kept hold of them, and all the times they will, I don't see Southampton struggling next season, so we've got them in 13th. Next, we've got the team that everyone writes off every season, and that is Sean Dyche's Burnley. Every year, they're always predicted to be near the bottom, and I know we predicted them quite near the bottom last season. Ended up finishing 10th, and a fantastic season from Burnley. That 10th place didn't tell the whole story though. Only 5 points off Tottenham. With the ability that side's got and the size of Tottenham, they really did have a great year at Turf Moor, especially the back end. Chris Wood's best ever Premier League season, 14 goals for him up front last year. Two kind of transfers so far. Norris comes in from Wolves to back up for Pope as Joe Hart moved on, and obviously Hendrick leaving to go to Newcastle. You got to look at the defence of Burnley, and that's where their foundations are, and that's where they get most of their points on the board from the back. You got your Pope in goal. There's Taylor, Mead, Tarkowski, solid players. Know each other's strengths, know each other's positioning, always work well together. And then you've got young Dwight McNeil up front to feed the ball to Barnes and Wood. It's a match made in heaven so far for Dyche. As long as he can keep them players ticking and fit, Burnley will do very well next season. And I don't see them struggling as much as anyone else does next year. So the last team in the bottom half, we've gone Leeds United, finishing in 11th. And I think the key for this in the side, this is their first Premier League appearance since 2004 for a club this size, is Bielsa and the way he gets his team so fit with their energy. No doubt he'd be working on pre-season to get that fitness even higher. They really do run, and you see the amount of goals they score in the last minute last year kind of typifies Leeds United to a T, and a lot of their points will come from that this season. We saw Sheffield United come up last year, who we predicted to stay up because of the way they play, and they're different, adapt to a few teams in the Premier League, and Leeds United are pretty similar. I think their energy, their high press, they do pick up points that way, and they will next season as well against some of the other sides near the bottom, and that would be key for them, picking up the points against the sides near the bottom to give them enough points to stay up. They could potentially struggle next year. I don't think they will struggle as much as what the other two coming up will. They've made Costa's move permanent from Wolves. Harrison comes back for a third season from Manchester City on loan. £27 million has been spent on Rodrigo. Can he come back to England after his previous spell at Bolton and be a hit with the Ellen Road faithful? Gelhardt comes in, who'll probably be a bit of a backup, but a good potential from Wigan. And then you've still got the quality in there of Klich and Phillips, who are just phenomenal in that midfield. Phillips so deserves his England call-up. A lot of questions been made why he has been called up, but make no mistake, he's a very, very good midfielder. Luke Ayling at the back, and then Robin Koch comes in from Freiburg, who is a pretty solid addition as well after missing out on White from Brighton. But we think Leeds mid-table next season. They say the second season's always harder than the first, but we still think Sheffield United will do okay next season. We've got them just creeping into that top half in 10th place. Chris Wilder, one of the managers of the year last year throughout the whole Football League. What a job he did. We did predict them to stay up, didn't think it would be as comfortable as they made it, and they really do play a very good style of football. He knows exactly to get that trust from the players that are playing, and they all work hard and together. And we think Sheffield United will be mid-table next season. A big miss in Henderson, obviously returning to Manchester United, his parent club. No doubt kept a few points for them last year, and he'll be a big miss. They have brought in Ramsdale, who again is another good goalkeeper, not quite the same attributes as Henderson, but definitely capable. Obviously, Fotheringham comes in as potentially probably backup from another goalkeeper. People said that they got found out when they got back from the COVID break. I think that was a bit harsh. They obviously had 5 defeats in their last 10, but in them games they beat Chelsea, Tottenham and Wolves. So I think people have been a bit harsh on Sheffield United, to be fair. Mousset and McBurney, top goal scorers with 6. That will need to improve because Can you get the same level and same ability out the same players next year? Not sure. Do they bring anyone else in, or does Wilder trust the bunch he's got in the changing room? Regardless, Sheffield United in 10th. Moving up a place, could be exciting times at Everton next season. Carlo Ancelotti really wants to make his stamp on this squad, and Alan coming in from Napoli could be the first start of many coming in. He looks like he's going to be signed very soon for Everton, and James Rodriguez is keep getting linked from Real Madrid. Will he come in? That will definitely get a few shirts sold on it in Merseyside. They've got the quality of Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison. They have both got 13 Premier League goals last year as Everton finished 12th. You'd fancy them to probably up that again next season. Calvert-Lewin seems to be improving every single season, and Richarlison is such a threat. So I think Ancelotti, once he gets his stamp on this side, I think charging the top 5 and 6 would be a bit too far out of reach for Everton next season. But they really are building a decent squad at Everton, and I think 9th is about fair for where they'll be next year. We move up a place and we go from Merseyside to Birmingham and Wolverhampton Wanderers. 8th place we've gone from this season. Last year we predicted they would finish 10th and be very, very strong in Europe. Well, they were very strong in Europe, weren't they? Lost to eventual winners Sevilla, and only just right at the back end of the Europa League stage. And Wolves, done everyone a credit last season. They're such a good team to watch. At times, they finished 7th, 3 points off 5th. A phenomenal season with that run in Europe as well. The front three, of Jimenez, Jota, Adama Traore stepped up last year, didn't he? He's been linked to bigger moves as well. Doherty leaving, going to Tottenham, it is a big blow for them, especially after their, tracking of Maitland-Niles seems to have hit a dead end. It doesn't look like he's coming in now. So possibly they're a bit weaker that side, and Johnny injured on the left. That could cause them a few problems at the start of the season. But I think Wolves will definitely be top half next year, and they'll be looking at trying to break up into the top notions of the league. Signing so far, we haven't really seen anything. But potentially 2 or 3 players, top players coming into Wolves would really, really make them a force next season. Possibly another good cup run without Europe next year, and without that distraction of playing Thursday night might make them a bit stronger in the league. But we think about 8th for Wolves next season. Leicester City, more than capable last season of finishing in the top 4. I thought they were going to do it even from the word go. Just 2 wins from their last 9. They just kicked them out of the Champions League places. Finished 5th, so they will have European football at the King Power Stadium next season. But that will be without left back Ben Chilwell, who's made his move to Chelsea. They're closing in on Castagne from Atalanta, who was very good for them last year. The Italian's going very strong in the Champions League and scored plenty of goals, so he will have that attacking threat installed in him as well, which Brendan Rodgers we know likes to do. And they've still got the 4 main men going forward of Vardy, Tielemans, Barnes, and obviously James Maddison. We've seen a few younger players come through, and I'm a very big fan of James Justin. He looks strong. And on top of that, Hamza Chowdhury, Luke Thomas. These players are coming through for Leicester. Will he use many of them next year, or will he go out and spend some of that Chilwell money to get 2 or 3 other players in? Not too sure at the moment, but you can be rest assured Brendan Rodgers always plays a good sense of football. I just feel like there's 6 stronger teams than them next season going into it. Finished 6th last year, and I've got them down for 6th again this season, and it's Tottenham. I think Tottenham are going to have a good season. I know 6th probably doesn't look like it, but when you look at the other 5 teams which haven't been mentioned yet, I don't see Tottenham finishing above any of them. Mourinho's, shaping his squad as well at the moment, so they're kind of going through a transitional period in London. Potentially, with Doherty coming in, is that the end of Aurier? Will he move on? He's brought in Højbjerg for the middle. We've lost a few, relatively common names with Tottenham. With Vertonghen's gone, Wanyama's been shipped out. Potential more outs on top of that. But they do have such an exciting strike line, don't they? If Dele Alli can get back to the levels he's capable of, on top of that, Son, Kane, Bergwijn, who's looked a bit of a threat going forward since he's come in, hasn't he? And, if bringing Doherty in as well, if he wants him to play the role he did at Wolves, that's a very attacking fullback. Will we see more of players like Sessegnon next season, being used quite a lot in pre-season, whether that due to injuries or other players unavailable at the moment. I'm not too sure, but Mourinho's trying to take his stamp on it and take nothing away. He's a top manager, whether people think he's lost it or not. He certainly hasn't. He still is that top manager, clawing a few big results out last year. But I think he's going to need a year or two to kind of sort a few of these players out. And will Tottenham give him that patience? I don't know, but I see 5 teams stronger than Tottenham. That's why I've gone for Spurs in 6th. So top 5, staying in North London. We stay with Arsenal. Arsenal in 5th with so much potential to be higher than this next season. Arteta's very exciting manager, young manager coming through. Whatever he's learned from Guardiola, plus he's made his own little stamp on it as well. He's building his own structure at the club of what he wants. That main man, Aubameyang, needs to sign that new deal, and it looks like he's going to be there for Arsenal next season. Under his belt already, Arteta's already won a cup, so he's already got that ticked off. And psychologically, he's already beaten Lampard, Klopp, and Pep in games towards the end of last season. So looking at it, Arsenal have got a very good chance of trying to break that top 4 next year. But they do still lack a couple of players in certain areas. That defence is a big problem. Obviously, Saliba comes in this year, who they signed last summer. He's had that year out on loan. Could he be involved next season? They came 8th last year. Their lowest points since 1995 when they finished 12th, and they need a lot to be able to get back in the top 6. But Arteta, I no doubt, will bring that. Saka, Nketiah, Willock, all these players are building themselves stronger, and they look like they're really ready to take on to the next level, to be the top players that they're all capable of. On top of that, he's brought in Willian, that experience from Chelsea. But Aubameyang's 22 goals are key. And if he can get 1 or 2 players, to play in the roles around him or strengthen that defence, there's no reason why Arsenal can't be higher next year. Into the Champions League places, and in 4th place, we've gone Manchester United. If someone said to me next season United will challenge for the top, and they bring in 1 or 2 more top players, I wouldn't bet against it. They've got 33 points to claw back on the champions from last season. Can they claw that many points back if they got that squad? I don't think so yet. I think they're building it. I think Solskjaer's, building a little empire there that, they've got some exciting players, and none more so than Bruno Fernandes that came in last year and really pushed Manchester United onto different heights last season. Kind of got Pogba a bit more involved as well. We saw flashes of why they signed him last year. And that front three is so influential as well, isn't it? Martial, Rashford, and the emergence of Mason Greenwood, who looks so strong and capable of 20 plus goals every season, no doubt. Van der Beek coming in, looks like he's in from Ajax. It's another strength they've got in midfield. Possibly maybe moving Pogba out if he came in. Not too sure. Defensively, midfield, someone to sit is where you'd worry for Manchester United, and possibly another strong defender, although I think Lindelof has really improved as a centre-half. But Matic, McTominay, are they the players that are going to sit there and make United a force? I'm not 100% convinced. I think they need another holding midfielder to take them on again to that next level, and someone like your Kantes and people like that. But 33 points, like we said, were off the title last year. I think it'll be less than that, but just 4th for Manchester United. In 3rd, and like United, trying to cut a 33-point gap on the leaders is Chelsea. Chelsea have had an amazing summer, haven't they? Potentially. Some of these players may not take off. However, when you look at it on the face of things, Frank Lampard has worked so hard in this transfer window and looks like he's got some real good players coming in. Don't forget they've had a year where they couldn't sign anybody, so these kind of players may well have, come in fits and starts throughout the last year or two, but they've all come in at once now. Werner, Ziyech, Thiago Silva at the back, Ben Chilwell, potentially Kai Havertz. That is a mouth-watering prospect of Chelsea. On top of that, you got the emergence of the young players, Gilmour, Mount, Reece James at right back. Looks a very strong player. Loftus-Cheek and Abraham are still there. Chelsea have got so much quality around the pitch now, and it wouldn't put me off putting them into the top 2 possibly next year, maybe looking at that. But will these players settle? Well, you'd have to say people from the German league generally do, so Werner should be okay. Ziyech is up in the clouds whether he will, but such a strong player on the ball. And obviously Ben Chilwell, we all know as a top left back, one that probably will be an England regular in years to come. So I think Chelsea are going to look very strong next year, and we've gone third for the Stamford Bridge boys. So who are we going to go as runners-up, which would leave the champions? Runners-up, we've gone for Liverpool. 18 points clear, going into their first Premier League campaign since it began as champions. So it might be a surprise that we've got them in second. Tsimikas comes in from Olympiacos, just under £12 million for that left back to give Robertson a fight. You've got the emergence of Williams as well, Alexander-Arnold. What a player Alexander-Arnold is. You know, he could be an absolute key player for them for years to come. He plays as a midfielder. He's a right back, scores goals, assists. At least 8 out of 10 every single week. He really is fantastic. He's got Williams on his heels now as well to drive him on even more coming through, and you've got the emergence of people like Jones and Harvey Elliott. Liverpool spent £20 million in the last 4 transfer windows. 20 million. That's sensational. And how many times do you get the best out of the same group of players every year? I think that's what the challenge is for Liverpool this year. If he does get that, if he does get the same, ring from the same players, then yes, you couldn't look past Liverpool. But that's the reason why I'm just going to go for them in second next year. So that leaves one team, and that's Manchester City. We think they're going to get the crown back. Going back to Liverpool, it's very hard to win back-to-back titles in the top flight. We know we've done it. They've done it in years gone by, but it's very hard nowadays to do that. Man City, obviously, I just feel like they're going to get the title back. I think, whereas Liverpool don't go for it in the Cup, so they've got fresher players in the league, I think City could kind of change that little policy a little bit next season. And the fact of no replays in Cups and shorter game times here and there, I think that's going to work in their favour. I think Torres is a big signing for them. I think Guardiola will know about him, and he will be strong, a good player to come into the side when a few of their big boys need a rest. £20 million as well. Ake comes in for 41 to try and improve that defence. Big thing was made out of Laporte last season being missing as the reason why City was struggling at the beginning, and it's true. Laporte's a huge player for them. Having him fit and available is massive as long as he stays fit. Yes, they've lost the legend that was David Silva, and Sane has obviously moved on, but they never had Sane last season anyway. With his injuries, Sterling gets better every single year. Do I think they'll get Messi in? No. I think he'll stay at Barcelona. I think it's just going to be too expensive for anyone to take him on. So I think, but City will make 2 or 3 other signings. I'm pretty sure, and Pep's already come out and said that they will be getting 2 more. So they'll be top quality players. And I think City, with the fight of trying to get their title back next year, I think they will just get over the line. So there we go. That is our final Premier League table, what we think 2021 will look like. No doubt we can't please everyone. So many big sides in this, but we think that the Premier League will be very, very entertaining next year. There's a lot of good sides at that top of that league. And we think, I think the point system won't be as far away as what the top 2, or at least Liverpool, were as far away as were this season. Let us know what you think down below. Who have we got horribly wrong? Who do you think will do a lot better than what we've predicted? Have a look and tell us your top 4, and also let us know who you think will go down. That's it for our video now for this prediction series. We will follow this on in a week's time with the National League, looking at the National League North and South. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next video, and we'll see you soon for some more football content. Thank you.